Hey y'all, it's your NP friend Bree. I'm here to talk to you about how to win friends and get job offers in your clinical rotations. Maybe not the win friends because you already got that part down pat. You don't need me to tell you how to do that. But I'd be willing to bet you do want some job offers, and you can certainly do it. I had 5 job offers from 6 clinical rotations, and I'm not a particularly special person. I just think I kind of did things well. And now that I'm out in the real world and I see how students act in clinical rotations, I get it. It's astronomical to me how poorly people do things in their clinicals. So I want you to learn from me, learn from what I see and what I did, and get your job lined up before you're even done with school. Take that stress off. So here are some things I want to tell you, but I need to start by sharing a little bit of my story if you don't already know. I had a very fast program. It was 18 months long. I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do, so I asked for my program set up my rotations. You may be doing your own and you're in charge of your own destiny in that case, but if you're not setting up your own and someone else is setting up your rotations, ask them to give you a shotgun method. Even if you know exactly what you want to do, it will benefit you. And what I mean by that is ask for as many varied rotations as you can possibly get. Even going so far as asking them to split up the semester into 2 or even 3 rotations to get you in a lot of different places. And there are multiple benefits for this. Number 1, if you're not real sure what you want to do, now is your opportunity to rotate through different clinical sites, different specialties, and see what appeals to you. Number 2, say you do know what you want to do. Say your life's dream is to be an ICU nurse practitioner and that is all you want. And maybe you even already have a job lined up. You graduate school, you do all your rotations in ICU because you know that's what you want to do. You get out there and that job's no longer there for you. And you can't find an ICU job anywhere else. Well, now you're significantly less marketable than the person who had rotations in various different fields. So it can hurt you. And the third reason this is important is say you are that ICU NP and you do have a job lined up and you do get it. Well, rolling right into your job from your clinical rotation that was all ICU will help you in some ways with your job, but 90% of what you're going to learn and your skill set is going to be developed will be done on the job because you can only retain so much from your clinical rotations. So why not choose some fields that act as an adjunct to what you're going to do? For example, I thought I kind of wanted to do palliative medicine, so I chose rotations in fields that would complement that, like ICU, like oncology, and it gave me, this foundation of information that will help me going forward with what I wanted to do in palliative. So those are my 3 reasons why I think it's very, very important to shotgun it. Not to mention the fact that you're putting yourself out there, an audition, if you will, with as many different people as you can possibly get. You should treat it like a job interview. Your clinical rotation is in part to teach you how to be an NP, and it's in part to give you a prolonged interview process to see how you function in the group as an NP, and they just want to see you working. So put yourself out there. Why wouldn't you want to put yourself out there with as many people as possible? So that's the reason why I think you should shotgun things. And these are the 5 things that I think you should do once you get into your rotation. Number 1, and it is the most important thing, please keep coming back to this. Rewind, and just remind yourself in case you forget. This is the most important thing that you can do to prepare for your rotation. Research. Say it's a field that you have no experience in. I did a rotation with GI oncology. I've never given a chemo agent in my life. I rarely had patients with active cancer that I was treating in the job experiences that I had. So I knew very little about it. But because I knew I was going to be doing this rotation, I spent some time, I treated it like homework. I spent some time researching what the current evidence is, what the treatment pathways are, what the common drugs are used, and what the common side effects are. Knowing that I'm going into a clinic setting, I'm going to be seeing people in a clinic. I'm going to probably be asking them how treatment is going, what their side effects are. So I researched what the side effects are, how the drugs work. And I didn't retain a ton of it because, again, it's all brand new to me. And I'm also studying for 5 tests, by the way. But I did. I took the time to do it. It was important. I treated it like it was important, and it made a difference. So in this example, I went in, and on day one, in which I was not shadowing or following the nurse practitioner around, I was seeing people, and after I had been seeing people, halfway through the day, she pulls me aside into a private room and she starts asking me about this drug and that drug, and tell me about the nibs, how do they work? Tell me about the MABs, how do they work? What are the common side effects? And while a lot of it I didn't know, some of it I did. And the fact that I had prepared for it and she knew I had no background in it, I blew her out of the water. She told me I was the first student who had ever done that. I showed her, I'm very visual and I take a lot of notes. So I had this clipboard full of color-coded notes, and I showed her the notes I had taken, and she was so very impressed. They are one of the rotations that offered me a job in writing. In fact, they liked me so much that they created a job for me. So, and that was one of the reasons, because I showed interest, engagement, I did my research, and it just presents the, number one, it makes you a good student and a good person, a good steward of your money that you're putting towards your education, and it shows that you're interested in what you're doing at that time. Even if you don't want to be a GI oncologist, act like you do. You know, take what you can from it. You may learn that you actually really like it. The other thing you should research is the company itself, the hospital, the clinic, the organization. You know, you can get a little bit stalkery-ish and even figure out who the people that work in the unit are. What are their key factors? Who's the director? How long has he been there? It will help you when you can throw out a little bit of little tidbits, and you can also place things when people are talking about stuff. So that's the research aspect. Research your subject, research your company, research your unit. They'll notice it. The second thing is completely common sense, but it is amazing to me how I have seen people in rotations that forget this. Be on time. Don't be late. There is no excuse. If you're late one time and you have a real good reason for it, okay. You know, okay. But if you're late a second time, they won't offer you a job, period, point blank. They will not offer you a job because you're showing them that you don't take things seriously and you're not reliable. And I have seen this happen in the real world, and I have seen people kind of be crushed by this when they didn't make the cut. So be on time, period, point blank. Number 3, look professional. Say you're in a clinic and they do dress down Fridays. You don't dress down, ever. You look your best. You walk in looking fresh, even if you're exhausted. You walk in wearing your best and acting your best. You need to put your professional self forward, because this is what they're going to see and remember when it comes time to set up interviews. Just do it. You can do it. You're an adult. I know you can. Number 3, show interest. You know, don't sit there like a bump on a log. If I could tell you how many students I see come in on day one, number 1, they expect to shadow. I would suggest to you that you never ever shadow. Even if you go in on day 1 and they say, okay, today you're just gonna kind of follow me around. You say, okay, how can I contribute? What else can I do? Would you allow me to interview a patient? Would you allow me to start writing some notes? I hear from students all the time, sometimes even 2 or 3 months into a rotation, that they can't write notes because they don't have access to the EMR or the computer system. That is an excuse, people, and it's awful, okay? Don't do it. Everybody in the world has pen and paper, and if you didn't bring it with you to clinical, shame on you. But even if you didn't, you can find some, or you can ask them to help you find some, and ask them, do they have the time during that day to read through a note or 2, even if it's just 1. Take a patient, research it, write a note on paper, and let them look at it so that you can learn, so that you're showing them you're interested in learning and growing and getting better at what you do. Don't sit there like a bump on a log, not even on day 1, but certainly not on month 2, okay? That just shows what kind of person you are, and that tells the people that you're rotating through with that you're not interested in what they have to do and that you don't want to do it. So they're not going to think of you when it comes job offer time. Number 4, if you're nervous, and you probably will be, especially if it's your first rotation and they say on day 1, all right, I want you to take 2 patients. I want you to go in and interview Johnny and Sue over here. And you're scared to death, you fake it. You fake it till you make it. You go in the bathroom, you put your arms big and wide, you feel good and comfortable with yourself, get confident, put on your white coat and your stethoscope, you walk in the room and you fake it. You just start asking relevant questions, doing relevant things. And if the preceptor asks you to do something outside your comfort zone and you feel like it's a danger to someone, by all means, don't fake that. Let them know that you are not 100% comfortable with this, but you would like to learn how to do it. Would they mind assisting you the first time? It's a perfectly reasonable request. Okay, and the fifth and last thing, which I think is probably equally as important, is to engage your preceptor as a human being and a person. If she's got 5 kids and she loves dogs, talk to her about dogs. Get to know her as a person. Get to know the group that you work with. Ask them personal questions. Share personal stories of yourself. Now, don't, suck up all their time. Don't be a talkie where they can't get their work done and you're just talking all day long, because that's almost as bad. But it's important to show them you as a person. If they're interviewing you for your skill set, but also your personality, your ability to work with a group, and who you are, what you're interested in, what drives you. If you don't show that to them, they won't see you as a person. So that's it. That is how I got 5 out of the 6 rotations that I went to offer me official and unofficial jobs, and actually ended up taking a job with none of them. But treat it with the importance it's due, and I promise you, you will reap the rewards of it.